The year was 2004. GTA San Andreas had just been released for the PlayStation 2, Spider-Man 2 was out in the cinemas, and the Mega Drive, or Sega Genesis for all you Americans out there, was long dead. Sure, Tectoy may have released a port of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire 3 years prior under the title Shodu Milheo, but by that point even Brazil had its eyes set on the PlayStation 2 and not so much on Sega's classic hardware. That is with the exception of a now defunct Sega website called Eidolons Inn. This was the place where Sega fans would go to get the latest info on new emulator releases and just genuinely have a good time with like-minded Sega fans. It was here that Tulio Goncalves and Gwenel Goad, also known as Fonzie, set out to create a new game for the aging system. Inspired by the likes of Squaresoft's Chrono Trigger and the Final Fantasy series, they decided to create a JRPG of their own under the title Tavern RPG.
This was meant to be a simple project for the Mega CD, with the various community members appearing in the game as either main characters or side characters. Eventually, other community members from Eidolons Inn and Sega 16 liked the idea so much that they would join the project, turning it into a massive fan-made endeavor with a 6-year development cycle. On top of this, the game also grew from its simple roots to a full-fledged fantasy RPG for the Mega Drive. The development process was tough, as none of the development staff were industry professionals, and most were learning as they went whilst developing it. But eventually, in 2010, Tavern RPG was completed and released in physical format under the name Pier Solar, making it the first RPG for the system in nearly 15 years.
But this wasn't just any old RPG though. This particular game boasted a 64 megabit cartridge, which completely trumped anything else on the system, including the previous champion, which was Super Street Fighter 2 by 24 megabits. The game also featured an impressive connectivity with the Mega CD in which it would run the game off the cartridge but would unlock additional features such as an improved soundtrack if you bought the accompanying CD as an extra. It even had the occasional Mode 7-like graphics to show off just how capable the console was under the right hands, and indeed, the game was well received by gamers and critics alike, many of which were delighted with the idea of the Mega Drive receiving a brand new game, in an era where everyone was off playing on their PlayStation 3s, 360s and Wiis. Its commercial success also surpassed everybody's expectations, with several reprints being issued over the years, and the studio's co-founder, Gwenel Goad, stating that it's unlikely that any other modern Mega Drive game has sold as much as Pier Solar did.
However, despite the success, things weren't so rosy with the studio. Many of its volunteers became frustrated with the project's slow progress, or that their opinions were not being taken into consideration, while others felt that they weren't properly compensated, as they originally signed up for what was meant to be a free game. And even though Pure Solar became a paid product, most of these workers only received physical copies as their payment. Worst of all, towards the final year of development, the friendship between Tulio and Gwenael began to deteriorate.
Besides these minor issues, Pier Solar proved two major things to Tulio and Gwenel, and that was that there was a hardcore group of Sega fans willing to buy new games for their aging systems, and that these guys had what it took to make those games.